Hello, everyone. It's happy Sunday. I hope everybody's having a great weekend. My name is Samantha, and I've got Kaylia here with me.
Hello, everybody. Thanks for joining us. Welcome.
Welcome. Welcome to Pacific Northwest Crimes Revisited. Tonight's show is Sarah Wondra, spiritual attacks, trauma, or fake? I want everybody to decide for themselves what you guys think. We're just going to be going over Sarah Wondra and, her behavior. I found some crazy TikToks today, some that I have never seen before, and I only got through October of 2021 because it looks like Sarah Wondra really doesn't start posting on her TikToks till about 2.5 months. Well, let's just say October, 2 months after Michael Vaughan comes up missing. And let me tell you, October of 2021, she's losing her mind. Yeah, little crazy going on there. Welcome, everyone. I hope that you guys are excited to do this as I am. I got super bored today and decided, you know what? Let's just do it live. So. Is there anybody in the chat room? Is there anybody in the chat, in the comments?
Shows we have a few. It shows we have a few on my end. I can see we have a few. Nice to see y'all with us again tonight.
In the comments, you see people?
Oh, no comments, just viewers.
Oh, okay.
But
I'm like, I don't see anything in my comments.
silent watchers, no commenters.
That's all right. You know, what I think is really amazing is that all of these creators that are working really hard for BRANDI NEAL, creators that she has literally gone on, there's that word again. I am so sorry, everyone. Everybody's getting tired of hearing that word because of Stacey Wondra. But so many people are working together, and they've had BRANDI NEAL on their shows, and I think it is amazing that all of these creators can get together and work with one another, share each other's information, and do all that kind of thing. People aren't getting mad about it. And I just think that that's really amazing, because I think it's important for us all to, come together and be there for BRANDI and her family. She pops up in all of the creators' comments if she's not popping up on their shows. And I just wanted to give a shout out to all of the creators that are, doing Michael Vaughan, and they aren't getting irritated and upset with the other creators that are sharing things that they find on the Michael Vaughan case when we're all doing a lot of research and stuff. So
yeah, it is awesome to see a collaborative effort of awareness, and just knowing that each and every person's reach is a little bit different, and everybody's opinion is valued. And that collaboration for awareness for Michael and BRANDI, and seeing her support the community and just work hand in hand. It's kind of it's like new. We don't really see a lot of this in true crime communities. So it is kind of nice to see such a hardworking effort towards awareness with this case really, really close on the brink of breaking.
Yeah, and it took a creator like Brooks to reach out and say, "Hey, everybody, we need to start bringing awareness for Michael Vaughan. Can
Right?
people
Yeah.
help?" And then everybody just starts helping. That's how we ended up where we're at today. That's what changed our page, our channel, and has made us grown as a channel, and groups on Facebook, and now a new page. So it's amazing. I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah, just giving that shout out. So where to start with I'm gonna say Stacey 1,000 times, you guys. I serious. These S's got me good.
Yeah,
All
me
day long
too.
I've been doing it.
Tongue twister.
Yeah, because I've been doing nothing but talking about Stacey for a couple of weeks, and I decided I wanted to switch it up. We did Brandon, a few days ago, and now we're gonna go over Sarah. I'm just gonna have to calm down a little bit and not go so fast. Want to show. I'm just wondering where I want to start tonight. We have TikTok videos. I have information when Sarah's ex showed up on panel over on Josh with the lab. He did an amazing job. I mean, that was like spur of the moment. Her ex just showed up in the comments section. He invited him on, and all of the questions were great. And then I also have a news clip that just briefly goes over. Well, let's just throw that up real quick. What we're going to talk about.
This woman, Sarah Wondra, the woman charged with failure to report a death in the case of Michael Vaughan, be committed to a behavioral health facility. This after a competency evaluation found she was unfit to move forward in the case against her. Court records show on December 1st, a hospital bed was available for Wandra. Police previously searched her and her husband's Fruitland home looking for Michael's remains. Fruitland Police Chief J.D. Huff says he's confident Michael's remains were on the Wondra's property, but were moved. At this point, Michael's body has not been found.
Yeah, like I was saying, her TikToks didn't start till a couple months after Michael went missing. And then she's sitting in jail, and she ends up in a mental facility. And everybody's talking about it. Everybody's wondering, like, what's going on with her. She calls it spiritual attacks that she's having with God. And that's where all of this God stuff is coming from. And I'm wondering if it's some kind of trauma from witnessing or doing some kind of an unimaginable horror to Michael. And I hate saying that, but under the circumstances, right. I mean, this is serious. She is a suspect.
Yeah,
one of the suspects. So
one of the ones that they say is directly involved.
Right, with his abduction. And it's just, yeah, what did she see? What did she do? Did she do whatever?
Yeah.
I mean,
was she the one responsible? Was she planning it? Like, we've kind of speculated here on the channel, on our channel, that all of them were kind of in areas where kids could be. Was this pre-planned? Was this something they had pre-planned earlier in the day, or maybe in earlier that weekend? Or I don't know if it fell on a weekend necessarily, but was this on their agenda? And she was definitely at the mall, going around too. So if that's a theory that we're throwing out, I definitely think she could be the one saying, "Hey, let's do this," and we'll go into reasons why. There's some more speculation as to why she'd even want to go perusing for a child.
Right. And it's like, Was she controlling these guys? Was she the manipulator? Was she the one who was telling everyone what they were going to do? Was it her plan? Was it somebody else's plan? And if it was her plan, was she controlling them with just sex? Or was she controlling them with drugs? Because when she got arrested, she had Vicodin on her, or hydrocodone.
Yeah, something.
Um,
It was something like that. When I've read the articles, it was the like the generic form, and it said commonly known as Vicodin.
right. So it's, because we all, well, maybe we all don't know, but I have a recovering, a child that's in recovery from drugs. And I know other people that are in recovery. And, when you're heavily doing drugs, it can control you. And if someone's manipulating and, hey, if you do this, I'll give you some.
Yeah,
If you do that, I'll give you some. Because it's really easy once somebody's addicted to a drug to manipulate them in that way. I mean, we
that's a
have,
huge way that people in trafficking,
yes,
in human trafficking, a lot of the times they get them under their power by getting them addicted to drugs or exploiting their addiction, furthering their addiction, blackmailing them through their addiction. Addiction is a massive, massive control. Like it can be, yeah. So
yeah. And, or it could actually be both. Maybe she's controlling them with both, but maybe
yeah,
she's not the mastermind here. Maybe it
right.
was
That's
Stacey.
right.
Maybe it was Brandon. Maybe it, who knows? But tonight
Who
we're
knows?
speculating and we're talking about Sarah. I want to go through a news article clip first that I found that is going to talk about everything with Sarah Wondra, what's been happening, where she's at now. Well, I don't know exactly where she's at now, but we're going to go through this article, read it. We'll talk about things as we're going through it, and then we're going to get into the videos because I think it's really important for everybody to know the story. We all know that in November of 2022, that she was arrested when they came with a warrant to the Wondra'S house to search for Michael Vaughan because a tip came in. And she was arrested for not reporting the death of a body. So that's how everything started. And then that ends up getting dropped later on. And then new charges come. And that's what we're going to go over right now. I am going to share my screen here. Can you see that good, Kalia?
Yes, I can see that.
Okay, so in this article, it was written May 30th of 2023. Judge denies bond for Sarah Wondra, sets date for jury trial. And this is the Payette County Courthouse. Is that what that says? Yes, courthouse. So Sarah Wondra pleaded not guilty to 3 felony charges at an arraignment hearing Thursday, and a judge denied a request for bond reduction, keeping it at the $250,000 it was set at on March 29th, which was 2023. With that, Wandra remains in the Payette County Jail. The charges are unrelated to the case of Michael Monkey Vaughan, a child missing from Fruitland since July of 2021 at the age of 5. However, Wandra remains a suspect in his case, along with 3 other individuals, including her husband, Stacey Wondra, who is incarcerated in Ada County on a federal hold for a separate gun charge, also unrelated to the missing child case. Previously, Sarah Wondra was facing a charge related to not reporting the death of Michael. However, a judge dismissed those charges on April 17th. There are currently no suspects in jail or facing charges in relation to the boys' case. Now, something interesting the other night, I was watching a live, and I believe it was Justin for All, and he was talking about them dropping, this case. And I thought it was kind of funny because when he was talking about maybe, they dropped this because there was some other kind of evidence or something, Brandy NEAL pops in with ding, ding, ding. So I was like, oh, okay, because she watches everything. And it says here, Brandy NEAL, Michael's mother, attended Thursday's hearing. Fayette County District Court Judge Kylie Struchlick presided over Wondra's court hearing Thursday, and Wondra was represented by public defender Brett Schiller. Wondra pleaded not guilty to one count of each of the following: aggravated assault with a deadly weapon for allegedly pointing a gun at someone's head at close range during or immediately following a verbal assault. I mean,
Yeah.
she is pointing a gun at somebody's head. Oh, we need to say pow pow, by the way. I guess YouTube doesn't like the word GUN. So it's either pow pow, spell it out. I forgot about that as I was reading that. Yeah, but, I keep reading that she is a violent criminal, and this actually covers a lot. I couldn't believe I ran into this article. Let's see, where was I? Because now I'm blind. Evidence destruction or alteration of attempting to prevent the firearm from being found as evidence, and controlled substance possession for hydrocodone pills. So there you've got it. You've got the drugs and you've got the pow pow, and she's even trying to conceal this pow pow. From what I understand, she was trying to hide it or something like that. The maximum for the first count is 5 years with a $5,000 fine, and also allows for up to $5,000 in civil penalties for the victim. The second carries a 10-year maximum and $10,000 fine, and the third carries a 7-year maximum with a $15,000 fine. According to Fayette County Deputy Prosecutor Jeff Phillips, Wandra is persistent, eligible. This relates to offenders who have previous felon convictions. He said while the state hasn't yet filed related documents, Wandra faces potential life in prison. That's a pretty big sentence.
Holy cow.
Yeah. And she's not even eligible for parole until 2026. Schiller asked for a speedy trial on the not guilty pleas and argued on Wandra's behalf for a bond reduction. He noted that she had been in custody since November on a previous charge, the one related to Michael, which was not reporting the death. He said how she was found not competent and sent to the state hospital for treatment until March. So she was found not competent and sent to the state hospital, and bed was ready for her in December, as you just heard in the news report. Schiller then noted how, as the treatment order was terminated and they were preparing to come back to court for that case, the state filed the old GUN charges. Schiller said that for the same incident, a federal charge was filed, and that Wandra was on a federal release for that pretrial. During arguments for bond, Schiller sought to have Wandra released on her own recognizance, saying that money was a barrier since she had been in custody so long and not able to work. Wandra had hoped to get out and to continue on with her local taxi company, as she has a place to go and transportation. Since being treated at the state hospital, Schiller said that Wandra told him her medications have been drastically changed, in quotes, noting that her mental health was now in comparison night and day. Her attorney argued that Wandra posed no risk to the public and no flight risk. However, Phillips countered that, saying the most notable strength of the state's case is what Wandra admitted to law enforcement. She had a GUN and hid it. Schiller went to say that Wandra had failed to appear twice in cases in Washington County, Oregon, where, as far as he could tell, she had at least 3 prior felonies, including robbery and 2 counts of identity theft. Taking all of that into account, Phillips said Wandra should not be released. Schiller did add that Wandra told him if she ever missed court in Oregon, it was because she was in custody in another jurisdiction. So, yeah, we have robbery, 2 counts of identity theft. I mean, she's going in and out of jail and all over the place. This is in Washington County, Oregon. She's not showing up for court. She's trying to hide a GUN. And then after considering the arguments, Schutlick denied the motion for bond reduction based on state law, including Idaho Criminal Rule 46 and Idaho Code 19-2904. Her reasoning was based on Wandra holding a firearm to another person's head and attempting to get rid of the evidence. Schutlick said, keep the bond set at what it is for witness protection and public safety. It is a serious offense, she said, noting that and the strength of the state's case against Wandra were the reasons for her ruling Thursday. With that, pretrial for the local charges in the GUN case was set for June 15th at 2:30 p.m. Trial dates were set for September 18th and 20th as well, and a September 28th through 29th, allowing the 2 extra days for motions if needed. In the GUN case, Wandra is also facing a federal gun charge. I didn't even spell it that time. That is set for pretrial on May 18th, with trial slated to begin May 30th. And then the latest of those was in November of 2023. Sarah was sentenced to prison on October 6th, this article was written, in November of 2023, and it says that Sarah was sentenced to prison on October 6, 2023, and will serve between 3 to 7 years in prison on 2 state charges. At the time, she was in Piatt County Jail, awaiting to go to Idaho Department of Corrections. Whether she has made it there or not, I could not find any verifiable information that she has made it there or not. So I'm not gonna.
Right. Yeah, I couldn't find it. I was trying to find like an address or something. I couldn't find it very easily, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it really sounds like that, it's not a new thing for her to be a criminal. I mean, Stacey talked about the fact that Lucian wanted to do some pretty shady stuff online, and that, of course, Stacey says he didn't want nothing to do with it, but I don't believe that. He's married to Sarah, and he has also been in trouble. Like in 2018, it was like he almost, I don't want to use the word hostage because he didn't hold somebody hostage. I think the words were, oh God, what did it say? Well, he was basically holding somebody against their will. And this had
false
something,
imprisonment or something.
yeah. And this was the reason why he ended up getting in trouble for GUN charges and became a felon to begin with, and why he ended up being arrested in
And
2022 for unrelated charges, against Michael, because they found, or Sarah actually had told law enforcement that Stacey had a GUN and that he sold it to a pawn shop for $425. And pretty much threw him under the bus, and he was arrested. And he spent he was supposed to originally spend 21 months, but only ended up spending 17 months. But he wasn't supposed to have a gun because of what happened in that hotel room in 2018.
Yeah, and Sarah's a repeat offender with multiple felonies. So just no regard for the law, apparently, from either one of them.
No. I mean, well, look at the people that they hang out with and stuff, too. I mean, you can tell by just looking at the people that they're hanging around that, they're not up to no good. Definitely not up to any good.
The bar and the standard is low.
Yeah. So we're going to go over these TikToks that I found. Before we go into this, I want to share a story. It's just something about my personal life that I'm going to share, because while I was watching these TikToks, I was thinking about my mom. And while I was growing up, my mom was in and out of mental institutions. She even tried killing herself multiple times. And the reason that I'm bringing this up is because my mom was raised Southern Baptist, and she was very religious. She was always reading from the chapter of Revelations, which is at the end of the Bible, that also talks about God coming, Jesus Christ coming back, the end of the world, apocalypse, you name it, all of that kind of stuff. And every time my mom got mentally ill and was having issues, she would turn very godlike and kind of talk a lot like the way Sarah talks. And she came to my house one day, and she had shaved her hair off and cut it. There was little bits of pieces kind of like all over her head, and there was even like blood marks on the top of her head, because she was telling me and my husband when she came to the back door, which my mom didn't leave the house. My mom couldn't even drive. She ends up taking like a taxi over to my house. And I'm like, what is my mom doing here? Because she never left her house. And she took a lot of medication. So when she showed up, that was the first red flag. Something was off with my mom. And then she told me that Jesus Christ put a crown of thorns on the top of her head, and that God was calling her, telling her, and she just went on and on and on, telling me all the stuff from Revelations and telling me that the world was coming to an end and all the stuff. We ended up having to call an ambulance. They came and picked her up. And at that particular time, we found out that my mom actually had a clotted artery going up one side of her neck that was cutting blood circulation off to her brain.
Oh.
And caused this episode. When they also found out that it could have been there for quite a while, and that could have been the reason for even past episodes that had happened like a year and a half prior. I just want everybody to know, when it comes to mental health issues, I know mental health. I've witnessed it firsthand. I know when a person's eyes look crazed, or when a person kind of like looks out of their mind. I'm not going to say I'm a professional. I'm not a professional. I'm not trying to say that at all. I'm just saying I'm watching these TikTok videos, and then I see Sarah with crazed eyes. She just looks kind of like crazed, and she this heavy breathing thing she's doing as she's doing the videos, and some of them was also something that my mom did when she was either living through a really bad trauma, or just having a mental breakdown. She had several mental breakdowns. One completely made her lose her hair. Like, that is mental health. It can do some really crazy stuff to you.
Yeah.
And I wanted to share that because when I'm watching Sarah, and I'm watching her TikToks, I saw my mom. I really did. I saw my mom, and as we go through these, I might compare some of these instances, and just as a, an FYI kind of thing, that, this is something that I watched, that I experienced somebody else doing before. And that's why I wanted to tell everybody my story about my mom. I normally, don't share my personal life, but I really feel like it's very important for people to understand that I've gone through and seen this kind of behavior before.
Right.
Let's start with this one. Hey, Callie Dine. Hey, I see you too, Susie. How are you guys doing? Nice to see you guys here. I got a little bit nervous and flustered talking about that. I'm like warm and my face is red.
Well, that's a heavy topic, and then like it's heavy for most people, but then adding in your personal, that's a heavy story that you personally have. And so, yeah, I can only imagine. Thank you for sharing that with us, because that's vulnerable. And I agree. Mental health is detrimental. And it makes me wonder, because with Sarah being so religious, I wonder if anybody has ever talked to the people in her life before, if this really did just spring on suddenly. Because if she's a repeat felon, how come she can't live her life straight by the Bible? I just don't understand. Right. So I am leaning to that. Yeah, this did spring on later, kind of like you're saying. It's like a symptom of something. Or but yeah, I would like a confirmation of that.
Well, I know there was like 4 or 5 other videos before October on TikTok when she started, and a couple of them were godlike, so it's not like she wasn't into God or didn't believe in God.
She always had a slight belief.
Yeah, well, I even found a clip of her talking about being 14 years old, locking herself in her room and reading Revelations. It sounded so much like my mom. Like, that's the kind of, my mom was obsessed with Revelations. But anyway, it's good to talk about things, don't hold things in. Oh, I don't, hun. That's why I'm letting the whole wide world know. Okay, let's get through these real quick. Well, not real quick. I didn't even get through a third of her TikToks, and this is what I found. And I was like, this is enough for tonight's live. Maybe I'll find some more to do, because I'm briefly going through them, and this is what I found. I can't imagine what I would find if I just sat and just listened to everything one at a time all the way through.
I don't deserve half the stuff I've been given. Not even anything, really. God just keeps blessing me, and I don't deserve it. And I can't pay it back.
Yeah, and in this one, it just sounds like she's just really upset that she can't like pay it forward to people or something. But I mean, this is the beginning of October. Is that what it was?
Of 2021 or 2022?
I want to see because wait, it says it right here. Wait, this one is in 2022. This is the only one. And then I went, wait, I want to go back and I want to go from the very beginning in October. So this was 4/1, so April 1st of 2022. And I believe April, March. In 2022, I know in March, that's when Stacey was arrested, was at the beginning of March. And I want to say she was in trouble for something in April then too.
Really? God just keeps blessing me and I don't deserve it. And I can't pay it back.
Have you seen that video yet, Kalia?
No, I don't think I have. And it is just really does, I mean, it's striking because I do have religious family members, very religious family members. And I don't think I've seen any of them break down in tears in this way. I mean, yes, I know religion can bring you to your knees, but I guess this is just strange to me to get on a camera and to vent in this way and to feel almost guilty for the good things that are coming to you.
And I'm glad that you said the word guilt too, because that's what, when I watched the video, all I could think of is she feels guilty for something.
Yes, like I don't deserve
like,
these good things that are happening to me. And
Yeah.
I'll never be able to pay it back because I don't know. That is just, it is strange.
Let's talk about this.
I do that a lot. But I want to put out there that I have been saved from a lot of sin. The reason why I trust in God so much is because I have so much to be saved from. For instance, I've committed robbery. Oregon, if you want to look that up. I've lied. I've cheated. I've hated my sister for a while. A long time I hated my sister, but God's helped me overcome that. I hated my brother for molesting me for a long time, and He's helped me overcome that. And I've hurt people. I've cheated on them. I've been divorced and remarried, so I'm an adulteress. Then again, I don't know if he cheated on me or not, but that's not the point. I mean, I've committed so much sin that I know I hung Jesus on the cross with my sin, which that makes me a murderer because I killed the Lord God on a tree. And He still is willing to save me and work through me. I'm just grateful that I even get to even think about going to heaven. And He saved me from myself.
In that clip, I just thought it was very interesting that she talks about hurting people. And then she says, I'm a murderer. I put Jesus on the cross. But hurting people and then saying, I'm a murderer. And the way she says it, I mean, I know if you're a Christian and you know the Bible, they say that, He died for your sins. And I get all that. But the way she's calling herself a murderer, the Bible doesn't teach you that you're a murderer. The Bible teaches you that you're a sinner.
And that you're saved. And yeah, exactly. And at the end of that, she starts getting emotional again. Like almost like that guilt, like that is starting to creep in again.
Yeah,
that
because
heavy feeling. I mean,
yeah,
yeah,
and and God does this so we can be forgiven, so that we can go to heaven. So it's about forgiveness, and she turns it into something just really, really strange. I murdered someone. Jesus, and it's like, what? I don't know.
it is weird. Yeah,
Yeah.
eerie.
Some of these things gave me the
People
chills.
always ask why a loving God would let murder and hate and horrible things happen to you. Well, here's the thing.
Murder happened to you?
Yeah.
I mean, that is weird to me. Why God would allow, and she says murder, and then happen to you. I don't know.
It is strange. I know.
Oh, sorry.
I know. I've had Jehovah Witnesses come to my door before, and they've given me a pamphlet that says that talks about this topic. If God is real, then why? But they don't say murder once. They say things like, why is there suffering? Why are there people that are hungry? Why did my grandfather die? That kind of stuff. But the first thing out of her mouth is murder. It just is. It's just eerie.
Yeah, it's really super strange. I mean, I have lots of family down in Texas that are Jehovah Witnesses. And, I've gone to their church many of times and never heard them talk like that.
Yeah.
Or in any church that I've ever gone to, actually.
Yeah.
First of all, it's kind of our own fault. We sin. So, but anyway, God lets those things happen to us because He gave us free will. And because sin is rampant, because we chose to sin, there's also a curse with that, right? But also, other people's sins affect you, and my sin affects other people. Because sin is ugly, and it's messy, and it doesn't stay in its own pile of sin. It splatters out like blood. And
It splatters out like blood. I was so thrown back by this particular TikTok. And yeah, just keep watching. It's crazy.
literally covers other people with the sin that you're putting out there. So when Jesus covers you with His blood, He's spattering out His grace over your life, over all the people that choose to accept His gift. Because really, everyone can accept His gift. Some people choose not to. Some people, they just unfortunately never knew that there was a gift, because some of us believers didn't go out there and tell them.
Yeah, it's just so, again, like, you're talking about God, you're talking about Jesus, and you're making it sound so gruesome.
No, what the heck? I would just like I'm taking a moment to reflect on the last time myself or anyone around me has described anything by calling it like blood splattering. I'm sorry.
No,
That
never.
just is crazy. Never. I mean, and even Samantha, I'm thinking of the phone call we had earlier that, oh my gosh, if they ever looked at my Google history, they'd be thinking I'd be looking to find where,
I know.
But this is different. I still have never uttered those words out of my mouth in casual conversation like that. You know what I mean? Like, what I'm Googling and what I'm searching and what I'm watching is a little different than what I'm just like casually letting go out there. And she just says the weirdest things, especially when you think that she could, I mean, the police say that she directly is involved. I mean, she admitted something. She told them
Yeah,
she told them Michael's not alive any longer. They arrested her for it. So this is all really eerie to think about when you also
mhm,
think about that fact.
exactly. Yeah. And even referencing back to my mom, even though with all of her mental um unstable instability that she had, I never heard her talk so gruesome about it. Like, I don't know. It's just gruesome to me when I think about God and I think about going to church and everything else, and singing with the choir when they're up there and everything. I'm not imagining what she's putting out
Yeah,
here. That's such a
exactly.
gruesome picture.
But one thing I haven't talked about is forgiveness, and I've had to experience forgiveness a lot on my end, and me giving forgiveness, because I've done a lot of things. I've hurt a lot of people's hearts, and I've done a lot of bad things that I've had to confess to God and to the person I wronged.
That's another one of those screaming guilt vibes.
Yeah.
You know, this is just a couple months. Matter of fact, I think this one is when I'm going to start looking at these and talking about the dates because let's see. Oh my gosh, my eyes will not zoom in on this on my computer. Can you see the date on this one?
Um yeah, that's October 9th, 2021.
Yeah. She does quite a few between the 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th, 13th, 14th, 15th. And then, like I'm saying, I want to talk about the dates every time we put a new one up because when you get towards the end of October, wow. Wow. This month is tragic for her. Whatever's going on. And I'll just say, like, she's responsible for what happened to Michael Vaughan. And as far as I'm concerned, she's getting what she deserves.
Yeah.
You know, going through this, if she is suffering, who knows if it's a ploy or not, or, if she's just being fake. But it's definitely some really strange behavior. And like I'm saying, like, it really does get worse. But this video just screams guilt.
Yeah. Screams
You
guilt.
know,
And also I was thinking she's also not being very direct. And if you're like cheating on somebody, or you've been convicted of robbery and now you feel like you've a changed person, you can talk about those things freely. But she's like still like hesitant to like be fully forthcoming about how she's feeling right now. It feels like she's holding back. And
mhm.
of course, I mean, we all can speculate as to why, but I just think that's interesting because, yeah, again, we've seen people come forward on videos, and imagine yourself doing so. You might not be so coy about what you want to say. You just own it. Like, hey, I've been forgiven for all my sins, and they have been XYZ, but she's still very quiet, very interesting and shy.
Yep. Yeah, she's definitely not going into detail about what it is she's talking about.
Hmm.
And I've had to experience forgiveness a lot on my end, and me giving forgiveness, because I've done a lot of things. I've hurt a lot of people's hearts, and I've done a lot of bad things that I've had to confess to God and to the person I wronged.
The person I wronged.
So Jesus is calling me.
So this is 10:10. She is writing Jesus is coming soon on a t-shirt, and there's videos of her wearing the t-shirt, running around, standing, she talks about being in places, she wants people to know Jesus is coming. Yeah. And then there's this next video.
Today, I got called to go stand on a corner and hold some signs for Jesus. And I've never done this before, but, or felt like, well, no, I feel like I felt the need that I need to go do it and maybe just didn't do it for a while. But I wanted to hold the sign where I wanted to hold the sign. But God wanted me to hold the sign next to the weed shop.
God wanted her to hold the sign. She's now going out and holding a sign, to talk about God, which is an okay thing to do. I've seen people do it before, but God is telling her to do it at the weed store. So she's hearing God, or she's at least saying she's hearing God. She's writing that Jesus is coming soon on a t-shirt and wearing it around. It's just,
Right.
this is the part of her TikToks that are really interesting, because this is when she really starts talking about how God is telling her things. God is talking to her. And yeah, I wanted to go do signs somewhere else, but God told me to do it in front of the weed store. And once again, I'll reference back to my mom. When she would become ill, if she said anything that made any of us kids look at her like, what? She'd always say, I'm sorry. That's what God told me to say. So it's weird.
Wow, yeah. It's right, the parallel.
Yeah.
I don't blame you for thinking that.
Much. But God's bigger than your storm or your disease or whatever's going on. So I'm living proof of that because I'm diabetic.
Right there in the background is Michael Vaughan's picture hanging up on the refrigerator. If anybody has followed this case, know who Sarah Wondra is. I'm sure you guys have seen this. And this video, she's talking about her diabetes.
And my blood sugar, according to these things, have been almost consistently between like 300, sometimes even up to 600. Basically where the modern medicine tells you that you're going to be in a coma. Like, or you should have already been in a coma. It's been like that for like years now. Still walking around, cleaning my house, praising Jesus. Barely taking my medicine that they gave me because I can't afford a bunch of new ones and there was a bunch of problems. But I decided to just trust God for it, and yeah, still walking around. Got energy. Maybe not a lot, but I got energy, and God's given me my life. I'm not in a coma. I'm still here speaking the things of God.
Kaylee, could you have seen the date on that? Was that the 15th?
Yes, that was the 13th.
Oh, 13th. So I find this video really interesting because, one, I found out that I am a diabetic around Thanksgiving time, but my daughter has been a diabetic since she was 12 years old. Those numbers that she's putting out that she has, saying that her numbers are in the 600s, blood sugar numbers in the 600 could definitely put you in a coma. No joke. My daughter was almost, to that point when we found out that, her blood sugars were out the roof when we took her in. And in another video, she talks about her A1C being at a 14. That is super dangerous. My daughter's blood sugar, because we didn't know she was a diabetic, it was a juvenile thing. It came on suddenly at 12 years old. When we took her into the ER, she went into the intensive care unit, and they told me that she was staying there for the night in case they had to drill a hole in her head to release the pressure
Wow.
that can be caused when your blood sugars go up so high. So it's a very dangerous thing what she's doing here, and acting like she's just blowing it off and it's not a big deal is just I'm just like, wow. So either she's lying about her blood sugars being that high, or she is damn lucky to be alive. I'm not joking. That is some serious, serious numbers, especially for an adult. She was 35 years old at this time. So an adult and her 35, being 35 years old with numbers that high, yeah, she could die. Stacey Wondra talked about her going to the ER a lot for high blood sugars and stuff.
Yeah, I
You
was
know,
going
her
to say
blood
that.
being like in the 600s, 700s, and that she didn't have a good diet, was constantly eating fast food and stuff like that. But when my daughter wasn't taking good care of herself and her numbers would get out of whack, she'd have to go to the emergency room a lot too when she got older and, was having to take care of her diabetes on her own. But yeah, it's a very dangerous thing. And another thing that can happen is when your blood sugars go low, I mean, you can hallucinate and all kinds of things, but it's also the same when your blood sugars go really super high. It can cause you to have delusions and just see and hear things that aren't there and just like completely lose it.
Interesting.
And
Makes sense though.
yeah. And when I'm watching this video, I don't know if anybody else noticed it, but do you guys hear her slurring? Or is it just me?
Maybe play it back. I didn't catch it the first time.
Let's just see. Yeah, to me it sounds like she's slurring. And since she was caught with Vicodin, I'm actually wondering if I don't know if she took any mental health medications during this time, but I know when you're heavy medicated on mental health, sometimes you can slur, especially if it's like for anxiety and stuff. But if she's, abusing narcotics of any kind, she could also slur. But yeah, we'll take a listen and see.
Because I can't afford a bunch of new ones and there was a bunch of problems. But I decided to just trust God for it, and yeah, still walking around. Got energy. Maybe not a lot, but I got energy, and God's given me my life. I'm not in a coma. I'm still here speaking the things of God.
Yeah, I could hear it that time. I could hear slurring that time for sure.
Yeah, and I noticed that right around this time, and the TikToks that were before and the ones that come days later, this intoxicated or whatever slurring she has gets worse and worse. So I don't know what it is that she's on, if it's her blood sugars, what's going on here. Like I said, it could, I don't know if she was taking meds for herself, abusing meds or what, but yeah, she's definitely slurring to me.
So, if you don't know what time we live in, man, you better jump on board. We live in the time of the end. So,
Yeah, she was just really super intense. Like, it's coming to an end. Like, you better be prepared. And she gets into a lot longer videos where she talks for really long periods of time. And sometimes she had like one video she did that she started, and then she just did one right after another and kept talking for like almost 20 videos in October. And
That's
I was
crazy.
just, wow. Like,
Well,
she posts multiple times a day, sometimes a couple times, sometimes 3 or 4, but then sometimes 8, 9, 10 times a day. Like, there's a lot of videos.
I wonder what her motivation for posting that often. Was she gaining subscribers?
No.
I mean, what the
Well,
heck?
she has a lot of people, whatever, but I mean, like, you ain't got a bunch of people like hearting or liking her stuff. I see minimal, either none or up to like maybe 5. I think more of her subscribers came like after the Michael Vaughan thing. People were following her just to see what she was saying.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Well, those videos you posted at the beginning, she was wearing the same outfit, but they were posted on different days. So
yeah, and there's multiple outfits that she has. But if you're high on drugs and you're bored and you're just sitting at house, maybe TikTok turned into her friend. And you know what I mean?
Yeah, totally.
Some people do drugs and draw. Some people do drugs and, stay very active. Some people don't do anything. Maybe this was just what she did.
I'm just going to speculate and put my own opinion out there that, yeah, I think that she was on drugs and was probably actively addicted to drugs as well as the other people in that house, especially because when she was arrested, those drugs she had was in a bag. Yeah, that's just...
Well, and she's Adrian Lucian was, around, and he got in trouble for trafficking drugs.
He has actual drug trafficking. You can Google his name and find his news articles from before he was wrapped up in all this.
And I mean, when Stacey Wondra was talking on another creator's channel, talking about the false tip, to me, he looked completely high as a kite. When the video started, he wanted to put his glasses on, and then he moved him to the top of his head, and his eyes were great big wide, and he looked like he was clammy, sweaty. I mean, he goes from like being nice and then I don't know, just like really strange behavior. And he looked like he was doing drugs to me as well. I mean, that is just my opinion, but he did look like he was high on drugs.
Yep, I agree.
When I was 14 years old, I used to lock myself in the room and just dive into Revelation. I gotta tell you, I didn't necessarily understand all of it at that time. And sometimes even now, God's gotta remind me of some things. But I don't speak on it unless God proves it to me.
Yeah, and that's the clip that I was talking about, where she talks about locking herself in her bedroom when she was 14 years old and reading the book of Revelations, which really, again, I'm going to reference back to my mom, reminded me a lot of my mom growing up, and her aunt that she was raised, well, it was an aunt and a stepmom that she was raised by after her mom passed away when she was younger, and they were heavily Baptist, really talked about Revelations a lot. She was really obsessed about it. And, when people get mentally ill or people get sick, they turn to God. So that's why I feel like my mom, when she would go through her moments, it always turned into like the revelation thing, because she's trying to lean towards God, but with her mental health being all whatever, the bad things from the Bible, the one chapter she was reading was actually horrific to her as a kid. She even told me that, because, it talks about demons and it talks about the end of the world and the apocalypse and just all of this crazy stuff. So I just found it
that's
kind of strange.
It's a heavy chapter. So yeah. And it's interesting again where she says, I only talk about it if God makes it or proves it true to me, which again, I mean, I guess I can't speak too far into that, but I don't want to look at everything too close, but you could look at that again as kind of like you said earlier, the God is speaking to me type thing.
Right. Absolutely.
So I've been going through some serious tests of faith. You know, I walk around out here outside. I got like my arms. It says Jesus is coming. Jesus lives. Chosen through Christ, right? Okay. But I gotta tell
This is one of the ones that really reminded me of when my mom came to the back porch, because now she's writing on her body stuff. Writing on her body stuff about God and stuff. And this is the 16th of October. And yeah, it's getting a little bit, it's getting more intense here. And it will throughout the month. It's very strange and unusual behavior to be taking dark markers or pins, whatever that is, on her, talking about God and stuff. I mean, writing on herself
Well,
and going out of public that way.
I used to work at Wells Fargo, and I worked there for a long time. And you know, we're in the Portland area. The branch I worked at for a long time was in Portland, and we had one customer who came in who this is so crazy. I haven't thought of this in like 5 years or plus. He would come in and he would write on himself, or write on, like, he'd get like a white hat or a white t-shirt and write on the t-shirt and the hat, but write on his skin too. And he would write religious things on his skin. I'm not going to repeat it because his religious views were hateful. And so what he was writing was not kind, but it just brings me back to like him as a person, face fronting. If he didn't have those written on him, on his skin, you'd never really know that those were his views. He presented himself as a nice person, but because I worked at the bank, working with people's money is a very sensitive thing, and you can really trigger people if they are unstable and they find out all their money is gone for XYZ, and now they're panicked. Well, now they're going to take it out on you. And this guy got kicked out of our branch because of his instability. When he would like get unhappy, it was like extreme unhappy. And seeing her writing on her skin brought me right back to working at that bank and remembering that customer and having to go through the process of basically banning him from coming in because of his outbursts.
Yeah, I mean, what a strange thing to do, to like write on yourself. And again, you got to ask yourself, like, is she really going through this spiritual attack that she's talking about, or some kind of, is she mentally compromised, or did she just push herself over the edge with some kind of trauma having something to do
Right.
with Michael's abduction or Michael's death, like what she saw or what she could have done.
Right.
And,
I know.
I am not a super religious person, but I do believe in God. I'm not smashing anybody's religion. This is a very hard topic to talk about, especially on a live. And I'm definitely not trying to say that I believe that she is completely 100% mentally uncompromised. But I can tell you, if she is, I do truly believe that it came from trauma, from whatever happened to Michael. Just to make it clear, because I know there are a lot of people that think she's just a big fat fake, and I'm on the fence. I can't for myself, I haven't been able to determine for myself yet if I believe that she is portraying herself to just be this crazy ass person, or if she's actually a crazy ass, you know what I mean? And I say that lightly.
I know. I'm on the fence too.
Yeah, because some of the stuff she's doing is really, like you're saying, you witnessed somebody doing this firsthand, and would you describe them as being mentally compromised?
Yeah.
You see, and that's kind of like, Does she know these things? So is she using them to portray herself as this crazy person, or has she done lost it?
Right.
And
It's
like I
hard to
said,
say.
when you get further into the month, and this is starting the beginning of like the really bad stuff, when she starts writing on herself, I'm just like, wow.
Right.
Yeah,
That is crazy.
my mind blown.
Oh yeah, there's like a little enemy inside me. The enemy is like whispering in my ear when I go into stores and things. He's like, they're gonna reject you. They're gonna be evil toward you, and you're gonna have to stand that. Hide your arms, Sarah. Hide your.
Like, she's talking about the way that people are going to see her. And this, to me, seems like she's worried what people are seeing. The mental part of herself is, I've done something horrible to this child. I know I've done it. Do other people know what I've done? And that's just what I'm seeing in this video. It's just so strange to me that she mentions going into store and wondering how people are thinking about her, as she has her arms written all over. First of all, if you have your arms written all over and you go to your store, you pretty sure are going to get some attention and people are going to be thinking something. But for her to be, I don't know, just the way she's saying it, it's just screaming guilt, 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 guilt. Have you muted yourself again, Kalia?
Here we go.
Opal here. I need to rewatch. I think she's crazy, but not clinically insane. I feel PTSD, guilty, and trauma made her temporary loser shit. This feels scripted to me, as in an act to cover her guilt. That's
I
where
do
I'm
think
torn.
a lot of parts are scripted, and I think some is genuine. I think that it's hard to trick the state, and since the state inevitably did put her in the state hospital, she was suffering from something. And I know that drugs can also induce psychosis, and things like that. So who knows? But yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like you said, I don't think she is necessarily clinically insane. But yeah, I agree. PTSD, guilt, trauma.
Yeah. Part of me wants to agree with you, and then another part of me wants to disagree with you a little bit on the doctors at the jail. Because, okay, say she's in there, and okay, say they witness her doing things, and then they think to themselves, oh, damn, maybe she needs to get evaluated. Or maybe she's in there and she's telling them, hey, I'm not okay. At some point in time, they have to evaluate, because they're going to be held negligent or responsible for her if she tries to kill herself, if she tries to harm somebody else. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So, okay, no phone ringing.
And, they also want to make sure she, guilty by reason of insanity is a valid plea. So that's something that they have to make sure. And if she is guilty of this, does she, is she competent to understand what she was doing and to understand the crime she committed and her, the weight of her actions? And yeah, I don't know. I think that it's hard because I know that a lot of, if you go on YouTube, you can go and see people trying to act crazy to get sympathy, or to be able to plead guilty by reason of insanity, or just to get into the hospital versus the prison or whatever. And the fact that she was put in initially and then they extended her stay, I don't know, something in me just
you can extend your stay.
Says that she needed medication. Maybe she was suicidal and that's what she was saying. I don't know, but they
Right.
didn't want her to be in regular prison, regular jail, which is where she would have been.
Right. And a lot of things that you bring up, like, keeping her even longer, like maybe they needed a longer period of time to regulate her medications. But I do believe when she did the abduction, at the time that Michael was abducted, I think she was perfect. I think she knew exactly what she was doing. I don't think she was incompetent at all.
I
I
don't
don't
think
think
she
she was
was
having
beyond,
any.
I don't think she was
Yeah,
beyond comprehension and that she
I
didn't
think she knew.
understand what she was doing either. I agree.
Yeah,
I totally
I,
am with you on that.
yeah, I think she completely 100% knew exactly what she was doing. And I think freak out mode just came later.
Hmm.
And yeah, I mean, and then in there again with the negligence and like being held responsible for her mental health and them making sure, especially if she's mentioning that she's not okay, or if other cellmates are saying, like, you guys might want to check her out. Like, we don't know what was going inside the jail, but obviously something happened while she was there that said, okay, we're gonna get her a little bit of help here. And then while she was there, she ends up staying a little bit longer. Again, we don't really know the reason why, but definitely something going on. Whether she was faking it, able to fake it, who knows? I mean, Munchausen syndrome exists, and there's other um, illnesses out there where people will pretend to be a certain way. It's not necessarily the Munchausen syndrome, but people pretend to be, a certain thing or whatever. And then you got just straight up narcissists trying to control things.
Yeah.
You know, I'm just going to act this way because I want everybody to think that I'm crazy because I want to be in control, which we're going to get into later on because we've already been told that she's a control freak and she's violent. So,
Hmm.
again, that's why everybody has to decide for themselves, is she under the spiritual attack like the church is telling her and like she believes, or is this trauma, or if she's fake, if it's totally fake.
I heard your hand. Don't let anybody see you. And, what makes me kind of sick is at first, I was like, I almost caught myself almost doing that. And then I realized it was the enemy trying to get me to deny Jesus in front of people. So I had to no, I'm going to show my arm. I'm going to walk in there. I'm not going to be ashamed.
So Zane Lilly says here, yep, I keep thinking it sounds like she's getting that deep into God and Jesus over guilt and fear of what she believes may be coming to her in regards to dying judgment day. Yeah, I mean, when you're a Christian person and stuff hits the fan, yes, in regards to dying judgment day, if you do something god awful to a child, you're definitely, if you're a Christian or even if you're not a Christian, you're going to wonder where you're going. Are you going to heaven or are you going to hell? Because you just did this horrific thing to a child.
Yeah, and I do know that our brains they're built to protect us, and
Mhm.
if her brain was sitting there trying to protect her by rationalizing whatever happened to Michael that day, it makes sense that she'd cling on to the thing that she felt was giving her forgiveness in that. So I don't know, just
And Opal says this will be long. I'm speculating here. I'm guessing from being adopted at 10, she harbors feelings of abandonment from having to give up a child for adoption at 17 is also trauma. Then being married to Stacey was super toxic. No healing took place from past trauma leading to this, in my opinion. Exactly. And then look at the lifestyle they were living. Yeah, the drugs and everything else. Exactly, Opal, like nailing it on the head here. I mean, yeah, she suffered a lot, and she even says she was, abused by her brother growing up. So I mean, like, you've got a lot of stuff going on, and I know that she didn't get along well with her family members and stuff. I mean, she's got a lot. I mean, if she's telling the truth about things, um, she's definitely got a lot of childhood trauma.
Church, you need to wake up. Seriously. I don't know if you don't realize like what time we're living in or where we're living. We are living in Mystery Babylon. Revelation 17 through 19, 1 through 5. Go read it.
I don't know if you guys noticed it, but did you guys see her eyes shifting back and forth and looking everywhere in that video?
Yeah, I did.
That was one of those moments of crazed, and you can't hear it as much as I could when I was watching the TikTok, but she is breathing really heavy and her eyes are just shifting all over everywhere. And yeah, she's looks like she's manic in that video. And then she's talking about like the Babylon stuff from Revelations, like the end again. And then Opal says, I don't even let magazine salesmen in my house, let alone random guys from behind dumpsters.
Right.
Right? Yeah, no way. Hello.
Yeah.
And not anyone that looks like Adrian. And did he really get found behind a dumpster? I'm just saying, because there's so much talk about this whole flight from California thing and how he got there, and we already know he's got a baby's mama in California. I mean, was he really staying behind a dumpster?
And in the age of technology, I'm sure our viewers know how easy it is to get a background check on anybody nowadays.
Yeah.
I just have crazy experience. Like, I don't even know how to explain this test that I just had to go through. It was just pray for me, brothers and sisters in Christ. It was overwhelming. God is on the throne.
Yeah, Opal says here her eye movements remind me of someone who stopped taking an antipsychotic med. And I actually do know about that. I had a friend that was a schizophrenic, and his mom actually called me and asked me if I had seen him because he stopped taking his medicine, and I hadn't seen him, but he did end up showing up to my house later on, which he always ended up doing. Anytime he felt like he was in trouble or something, he'd always come to my house. But when he showed up and he hadn't been taking his meds, that's exactly what his eyes were doing, shifting back and forth, looking all around. But I mean, he was also a paranoid schizophrenic. So was that because, the paranoia had just gotten so bad? Or, I mean, getting off medicine, like, that's not safe to do, especially if you don't do it the right way. You got to get weaned off of that type of stuff. You can't just cut it off cold turkey. You'll end up in a huge world of hurt mentally. She also says such a rapid behavior change is very common with a traumatic PTSD trigger. Yes. Yeah, I believe that she witnessed something very, very traumatic.
Yeah.
I just wanted to let you know that when you're listening to people telling you things from God, when they're telling you scripture. Okay, sorry. The enemy's trying to distract me with vanity. Okay.
He's trying to strike me with vanity. That one was, I just barely even caught that one because I was going to stop making videos. And then I found that one and I was like, what did she just say? But yeah, she's talking about God striking her for vanity because she fixes an eyebrow that's like sticking up on the side of her face.
Oh my goodness. Oh, that's a good catch. That's funny. They're trying to strike me with vanity.
Yeah. Opal, most people don't suddenly become like this randomly one day. Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's what the question is. Did she just, start faking this? Or, is this genuine? We don't know.
I will say she, like you said, she had to have had a relationship with God because she named her taxi business Faith Taxi. Was that before or after Michael disappeared? I think before.
Didn't someone say, and don't quote me on this, they had their name, one particular name, and then after Michael came up missing, they switched it to Faith Taxi or something like that. That's just something that I heard. I have no idea if it's true or not, if it's rumor or what, but I know that I heard somebody talking about that, or I read it in a comment section on a live that I've watched recently.
I'm curious. I'm going to see if I can see that.
Oh, and here Opal says, I heard she changed it to Faith Taxi after Monkey disappeared. Yeah, that's what I heard. And I wonder if her past trauma is why she talks so childlike.
Right. I have thought the same thing about that because she does have a very, it feels like she wants to be perceived childlike and innocent. Or
Right.
it could be a regression because of their, like you said, childhood trauma.
Yeah, and then I'm wondering if it's drugs too, because when you're on drugs, some drugs at least, you slow down your talking, and like, I'm a very loud person. When I talk, I'm loud, but a lot of people aren't. They're really quiet. Kaylia, you're a quiet person. Sometimes when we're talking, or even like here, you're a very quiet, outspoken person. And she just reminds me of someone that's always quiet, but I think when she does drugs, I think it just quietens her down just that much more, like calms her down. And then she talks slower. I don't know. That's my opinion. Yeah. I think whatever she's doing, whether they're mental health drugs or she's abusing medication, or maybe she's taking mental health drugs and abusing drugs, who knows? And if she's doing that, damn, you're really going to have some really bad side effects.
The time for grace is almost up. Now is the time to decide. Are you for God? Are you for Christ? Or are you against him?
Yeah, and now we're getting into like the 20th of October, I want to say. And she just, it just looks like it's getting worse and worse. Like in that, her eyes are shifting. She's taking deep breaths. She's pushing her hair back out of her face. She's even talking more, blunt's not the right word. She's more aggressive with her pushiness of Christ.
So we have a refrigerator and a TV from Rent-A-Center that we're renting, which today we're giving back the TV because we can't afford it, and
we're giving back the TV because we can't afford it. I had to keep this clip because Stacey Wondra talks about that they had to give the TV back because of God, and she thought the TV was evil. She does go on to talk about that, but I just wanted to point out that she said she can't afford to pay for the TV anymore.
Right. And okay. So they had it in July.
Yes. Well, this is
3 months after.
Yeah. This is the 23rd of October.
We don't really need a TV anyway. All it does is bring evil really into the house unless we're very careful guarding our hearts.
Yeah, she talks about being broke and they have to take the TV back to Rena Center, and she's okay with that because it's evil, anyway. So, yeah, but obviously they had a TV. So that only brings you to the question of why would he be so wishy-washy about the TV that morning? And it actually makes you wonder, because a lot of people have talked about the fact that the only thing that stays consistent in Stacey's story is them waking up in the morning and then getting that 11 o'clock phone call for him to leave and have to go take care of the taxi ride in Ontario that he leaves, early in the afternoon. But when you see this, and if they did have it, it makes you kind of wonder, like, why would you be lying about whether or not you were sitting around the house watching TV? Did they really sit around the house that morning?
Yeah. Or were they out and about doing whatever, their bad stuff?
Yeah. Had they been up all night long and didn't even get any sleep and decided to, they're brainwashing through this throughout the night and coming up with this huge plan and then get at it first thing in the morning or what? Like, it's just really strange.
Yeah, it is strange. You're right.
I personally feel like she is very violent behind the childlike character. I absolutely do. Do we know if Labor Dave is actually dead? I don't know if he's dead or not. And I read somebody say in a comment section that they didn't think that he was dead, that he moved to Oregon. But Kaylee is really good at looking up obituaries and stuff. I forgot to ask you to do that because there are a lot of people wondering whether or not, I think his name was David. Oh my gosh, I knew that, but now I can't. I'll have to think on it for a second.
But yeah, send it to me in Messenger and we'll see what we can find. Yeah, if he's passed away, it would be public record. So
Yeah, I know. I want to look real quick because I'm pretty sure I have the screenshot that I took. Oh my gosh, I have so many right now.
And sorry, who is this person? Who is Labor Dave?
Labor Dave is the friend, the worker that Stacey went and visited while he was in Boise after he dropped off.
I see.
David
After
Fears. David Fears. 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 Stacey said that he died. And then I saw,
keep us posted what you find. She says, I find people for a living.
something with an F. I think that was his last name. Yeah, it's Fears.
I was just sleeping, and because I've been so tired that I've come to start sleeping during the day. Because at night I'm seriously tormented sometimes by these spiritual attacks. But
she's starting to sleep through the day because she can't sleep at night because of her spiritual attacks. And yeah, the sleeping through the day thing and the spiritual attacks at night, that is
huge red flags.
Yeah, she can't sleep because she's probably having nightmares.
Mm-hmm. She's either having nightmares or excuse my speculation, she's using a certain subject that or substance that rhymes with the word Seth.
Yeah, exactly. And if she's doing that, she's up all night long and then she's sleeping throughout the day.
Yep.
Which, if you ask me, I think Stacey was doing a little bit of Seth because that's what makes him get all angry and mean. And I'm sorry, he's just clammy and sweaty and gross and acting really strange during that one interview that he did. Talking about a false tip and everything. I mean, yeah, he was so aggressive the way he treated people and attacking the people in the comment section and just like, it's. Yeah,
it was he had a lot the telltale signs or whatever, telltale signs as well.
Yeah, Irene says she is so creepy. Yeah, she's definitely something.
Mhm.
Definitely something.
Oh man, just please pray for me.
I just want to point out here, she's still got this stuff written on her a couple weeks later. Like it started around the 13th, and here we are, the 28th of the month. She's still writing on her body.
Yeah, she's going in every day, probably after showers and darkening it back up. That's
Yeah, and
bizarre.
the way that she's asking people to pray for her and help me, or like all of this stuff, like that's what she's doing towards the end of October. It just gets worse and worse. This whole please pray for me, the crying videos, the being so upset, the tormented, the guilty feeling, or what I am looking at and seeing. It sounds like she's feeling guilty for something. Yeah, and then the last video, like she's not sleeping at night, she's sleeping during the day. And I'm just wondering, is that because of nightmares? And from personal experience of having panic attacks in the past, I was waking up in the middle of the night having panic attacks from dead sleep. I'd wake up having a panic attack. That also made me wonder if that was something that may have been going on with her, that she's calling spiritual attacks in the middle of the night.
Right.
Is it maybe panic attacks that she's having caused by, the trauma?
Immense stress and trauma.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Memories and
Yeah.
well,
because
you
go
know
to bed.
how, like,
We
you know,
talk-
you're
Sorry.
I was just gonna say, you know how, like, if you have trauma, even though you might not, it might come back and you might have triggers to it, and it might be something that you live with and suffer from. But time does lessen it a bit. But when if you think about like something happening and you being involved with a child losing their life, and you are keeping that a secret. Imagine how bad that would eat any human up, unless you're truly a psychopath. Unless you are truly a psychopath or a sociopath that you don't have any feelings or whatever, then it wouldn't. But any normal person, that would kill you, and it would become to the point where it would eat you alive, and you would be suffering.
Especially when she's the one who has talked about wanting kids, wanting to have a child. She gives one up for adoption, according to her ex, when she was 17 years old. And if she truly wants a child, and that's why she took Michael, because she wanted him. She wanted to keep him. She wanted to raise him. She wanted to move away from him and have this happy life with this child. Something happens. The men are panicking. They're nope, change my mind. Can't do it, blah, blah, blah. And then something bad happens. Something so horrific she can't even deal, because that's not what she wanted. I mean, that's another way to look at this too. Like, she just thought she's going to kidnap this kid and she's just going to keep him and take care of it forever. But then something happens and something goes down. The guys change their mind, and then this dirty deed happens, and she can't even live with herself anymore. But she can't talk about it either, because
she's guilty and she doesn't want to go to prison.
And is she scared of the other people? Is she not going to say anything because she's scared of it? I don't know.
Yeah,
It's just so strange. I found David's fears deceased in May 2023 or in Oregon, and his obituary is interesting. Wow. Yeah, I'm going to have to get a hold of a couple of people, let them know if they don't watch my live, because I have a couple of creators that don't know that information and have been looking for that information. Is there any way you can drop a link to find that information in the comments so Kaylia can copy it and paste it and send it my way, please? This is from his obituary. Same would have called him an acquired taste, and he would have replied, "You might be right. To avoid a conflicts conflict and state that he was still working on being humble. Wow. Yeah, there are a lot of creators wanting to know if he was really dead or not. So thank you for finding that. You
Right.
did.
Now we know.
Yeah, you helped a lot of us out here been wondering that question.
I don't know. I know God is coming. Jesus is coming. I don't ever want to be found sleeping. Just help me by praying for me. Just lift me up to God the Father.
Yeah, and this one she literally says, "Help me." She is breathing heavy. Her eyes are erratic. She, to me, almost looks scared because of what she's going through.
Yeah, and it doesn't make sense. She says, I don't want to be caught.
Sleeping? Is that what she said?
Yeah. It's like a delusional, scared, what the heck is going on? Why is she so afraid right now? And what she doesn't give anybody any reason why she needs these prayers, but she's really acting scared.
Yeah, that one was one of the really strange ones.
That
And
is
then we've only
strange.
got a couple more on this clip.
Serious prayer for my sisters and brothers in Christ. If you're not in Christ, you're not praying for me.
You guys noticing this heavy breathing and her eye, like wide open eyes? This is the end of September or October. This is like the 29th of October. Lots of really super heavy breathing.
I need some serious prayer. I'm under a lot of spiritual attack from the enemy and from within my own flesh. And I'm like struggling because I'm surrounded by a lot of loud people who either don't believe in Christ or it's really hard right now. So God just kind of...
I mean, it's deep breaths in between each word. She's breathing so heavy. And then she's talking about loud people, being around loud people. Again, I'm going to refer back to when I'm having, or when I did have my panic attacks, I could not handle loud noises. Anything loud, anything too much. I mean, even since I stopped having panic attacks, I mean, because it's been a long time, I have a really hard time enjoying music like I used to because I'm also a singer. And I used to jam out in my car with music blaring, rattling my way. I can't do that anymore. The loud music just really gets to me. So I don't know. She just really super heavy breathing and just, yeah, just again, acting very almost out of control at this point.
like made me think about something in my own self. So I have really good ears, like I can hear really good. God's given me that gift to hear really good. And sometimes that's not a good thing because sometimes I hear things I shouldn't hear. But God's put on my heart that He noticed that I tend to like try to purposely hear, aka eavesdropping, even on my own husband, because I want to know what's happening.
Because I want to know what's happening. I eavesdrop when I'm listening to my husband because I want to know what's happening. And this is the second, I want to say, of, is that what that is? Of November.
Yeah, looks like it. And yeah, sounds like control or toxic, a controlling wife in a toxic type situation. And yeah, just again reminds me of that childlike demeanor she has, which we mentioned earlier, just staying with her.
Yeah, it's definitely just kind of strange. What she said about, because I want to know what happened. I think that's what really got to me in this one. Over wanting to hear what they're, I don't know.
But he was saying, like, maybe we shouldn't be doing that because then I'm just inviting the devil to interrupt my time with him.
So yeah, that is not even close to all of her TikToks. Not even close. I mean, only clicked on the ones that had her faces too, but there are lots of where she's just reading scripture from the Bible and talking about it and stuff. And I didn't even click on those. These were only the ones with her face and stuff. There's so much more to go through, and I will eventually get through and watch all of them because now I've taken an interest to what she has to say because I have found so many little things like the TV thing. That was interesting to me. Or like this thing where she's talking about, I'm wondering what they're saying. And yeah, it just kind of making me wonder what
That's
else
true. You're
is
right.
in the rest of those TikToks.
What other little hints are in here that yeah, and these were all recorded way before anyone else ever gave their interviews or anything. So yeah, good idea,
Yeah.
and thank you for doing that.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, and right after Michael, disappeared too is the other thing. This is her talking right after. So, yeah, this was just all of October. Maybe I'll do like an all of November, but I can tell you in the month of November, she actually doesn't even post that much. And she starts not posting as much moving forward. So, that was really strange to me.
I wonder when the
October
four of
was a
them
really bad month for them. For
right,
her, I
and
mean.
I wonder if they were, like, all under a lot of stress because what happened, and that's why she was feeling so stressed, and it felt shaky and uncertain. I mean, with so many people that could have knowledge of what happened, I'm sure at any moment you really feel like there's no truly, "Oh, I got away with this," feeling, you know what I mean? Because there's multiple other people that could at any time.
Well, also, there were lots of events that happened in October. We'll be doing a live eventually on a couple of the events that I'm not going to talk about right now. But one of the things was their trip to Texas was in the beginning of October.
Right. So this was like, yeah, this could be where people speculate a lot about that trip to Texas and what could have happened. And yeah, that's so true. What was going on? What were
Yeah,
their conversations? And yeah, she wanted to know. I didn't even catch that part of the video. So I'm glad you pointed it out because it's so true. She would just want to know what he was talking about, and was she worried about what he was saying? Was he saying too much?
right. And because at the beginning of October was her very first freak out
Yeah.
on TikTok when they got stuck in the mud. Like, why would you freak out so bad about being stuck in the mud? I mean, a tow truck ends up coming and saving them. They don't even have to give this guy money or nothing. And you would think that you'd just be grateful and happy. And we got
Yeah.
out of the mud and everything was great. It was a great laugh. You should have seen Stacey out there trying to get us out of the mud. Ha, ha, ha. But no, she turns it into this, you know,
For my life.
horrific thing, like,
Yeah.
stranded in the middle of nowhere kind of thing. But then again, you could also say that at this point, she is under high anxiety. She is having a lot of stress and trauma going on. So being stuck in the middle of nowhere in Texas, that far away from home, really could have freaked her the frig out.
Or what was in the car that they were that she was freaking out about. Who knows? Or where
Right.
were they?
Because a lot of people have speculated that they drove all the way down there to, put Michael somewhere else. A lot of
Right.
people have been saying it. What, is it rumor? Did they do that? Me personally, my opinion, why would you do that? Why would you drive across the country and take the risk of getting pulled over? You're going to have a smell factor going on. I mean,
Yeah.
who in their right mind would do that? I mean, obviously they're not in their right mind because of what
Yeah.
they have done.
Right.
But I mean, that's a long way to travel. And, I'm from Texas and I've traveled there several times in my life in a vehicle. We've drove all the way from Washington State all the way down to Texas. For one, it's a really, really, really long drive. And every time you pull into Texas and Texas State Patrol sees somebody from out of state, 9 times out of 10, 8 times out of 10, you're getting pulled over because they want to know why you are in Texas. Why is someone from Washington coming to Texas?
That's a good, we do have
so many times.
somebody here, Share Bear, commented, Letitia did. She's talking about Letitia Stout, and she's right. Letitia Stout did drive her stepson from Colorado to Florida. And that's where she disposed of his body. So yeah, and not only did she do that, she did it with her teenage daughter in the car under the ruse of it being a girls' trip between the two of them.
Here I am, a huge true crimer, and this is going to blow you guys' mind. I know nothing about the Summer Wells case, and I know nothing about the Letitia Stout case.
Yeah.
I know nothing about either. And I like watching TV shows and I like hearing investigators talk about it and everything else. I can't find shows about either of them, but y'all have me. Y'all have me.
Yeah,
look at that.
That one is very, very crazy. It's that one. I know it'll remind you a lot of Kyron's case because she was the loving stepmother, quote unquote. Yet her Google searches were absolutely horrendous. And and Summer Wells is just another tragic one. And both have a lot of coverage here on YouTube.
Yeah, we definitely will look into those and eventually cover them as well, since we're starting to, cover different children's cases. And then Opal says here that David L. Fears is age 53 years old, born in April 1970, located Boise, Idaho. Looks like Labor Dave is alive and kicking. Alrighty. She found a different one. She made a mistake. So she did find the correct one. She was wrong, she's saying, but she did find him and he's alive. So why would Stacey say he's dead?
And he's only 53 years old. That would be a really young age to pass away.
He's only a couple years older than I am.
Yeah.
Wow.
Weird. I mean, goodness gracious, Stacey, come on, get your crap together.
I gotta get my mind off of this whole Letitia thing now, because I did not know that. I did not know that about the case. So there really are people that will do that. Wow.
Oh my gosh. I mean, I forgot. And yeah, I'm sure there's more cases out there that probably were desperate and did freaking just crazy. Yeah, that's the thing.
People are speculating whether or not that's what they did with Michael because of that. So, when did this Letitia stuff start? I mean, I'm just wondering, when did it? Is this longer?
I think it was maybe 2018 or 2019. Yeah, it was before Michael.
So it was before. So no wonder why so many people are speculating about this in the Michael case. That is just insane to me. And like I'm saying, she does freak out on that video when they get stuck in the mud. Is this a reason why she freaks out when they get stuck in the mud? Because she's worried that the police officer's going to come and try to help them and they're going to end up finding Michael, or the tow truck driver comes and he smells something and then he's going to call. But you know what I mean? Oh my God, I am so sorry for talking the way I'm talking right now, but my mind is just like, whoa, what?
Right.
Wow.
I mean, if they're freaking out and they're the there's it doesn't really make sense. Why would anybody freak out? It doesn't make sense. Everyone knows the most rational thing to do when you're in a situation is to remain calm. And that's not even that much of an emergency situation. I mean, worst case scenario, you like ditch your car and you like get an Uber, you know, like,
Right.
and you come back in the morning or something, you know, but I don't know.
Yeah, but I mean, if anything did happen in October, you know,
Yeah,
that could be
she was
why
really
she's
under a lot of
freaking out in
stress.
October. So
Yeah, it's clear. You made it. You showed us with all these. Like you said, it escalated. It was getting worse and worse. And yeah, there
yeah.
was some stressful things going on because she wasn't elaborating, but she was talking about how she needed forgiveness in her life for a lot of things that she's done, and pray for me, and I need and help me, and yeah, just very strange.
Opal says here that she's always been a true crime fan, and it became so real when her uncle went missing and was found murdered. Gave me so much more perspective. Do you think they could have moved Monkey in October? Um, I don't know that. I'm kind of just speculating here and kind of going with the flow, but it has been talked about by a lot of people that they believe that they took Michael, down south when they left to go on that trip. But, there's other stuff out there. We're just not talking about it right now because we don't know if it's okay to talk about. Because I'm kind of waiting to hear back from BRANDI NEAL on whether or not a certain subject is all right to talk about and cover in the live shows, because we don't want to talk about anything that will hinder the case. But there were other things that happened at the beginning of October. To me, something happened in October, and the search was in November, right? Well, I'm talking about October of 2021, just a couple of months after Michael came up missing, not October of 2022, just a couple months before the tip was given and the yard was excavated, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
Now we're
by
going to
this
go.
point, police
Oh,
hadn't
sorry.
been on their radar yet.
You're right. Yeah. So Sarah's ex ends up in the comment section on the YouTube creator, The Lab. Josh is the one who does that. So he gets full credit for the interview that he gave him, because he's in the comment section of The Lab during a live, and Josh brings him on panel. And Brandon also talked about Sarah's ex. So we have a clip to go through with that. So I'm just going to throw it up. And
now, do you know anything about their trip to Texas in like around, I guess, a couple months after Michael Vaughan went missing? They went to Texas?
No, sir. I know nothing about that recent. Now, I do recall them saying something about that previously, where Sarah lived in Texas with another man.
Okay.
Now, I don't know nothing about that, but I know it was kind of like not a good deal.
So it's my belief that Sarah was once married prior to Stacey.
Yeah.
I believe it was to a last